Michael Venom Page fights Jared Cannonier on UFC 319, and because of his age and the fact that he's 2-1 in the UFC, makes a lot of people think he probably isn't going to get to a title shot. But what if I told you he is just 2 fights away? I was sitting and thinking about the matchup between MVP and Jared Cannonier, and I think MVP wins, and I'll get into that in a second. But what I think not a lot of people realize is just how highly ranked Jared Cannonier is. He's ranked number 7. And once you're in that top 10 sort of range, you can get any matchup you want, except for the champion in most cases. And the fact that MVP is unranked at middleweight and they're giving him this highly ranked of a matchup means they want to fast track him to a title shot. And to be honest, there are a lot of good options that can help him get there. Like if we take a look at the middleweight rankings, we have Duplessis, we have Imavov, we have Strickland, we have Adesanya, we have Chimaev, we have Whitaker, we have RDR, and while I don't think he wins against a Duplessis, a Reina de Ritter, a Khamzat Chimaev, Sean Strickland stands out to me. Strickland is going to try and point fight. He doesn't hit exceptionally hard, he does not vary his attacks, he does not, do anything too unique or crazy, right? He can't stop MVP from blitzing forward with a hard strike, and he can't wrestle MVP because Sean Strickland, quite frankly, is kind of brain dead. In a point striking matchup, right, which Strickland is always going to engage in, MVP wins that, 7 out of 10 times, if I'm gonna be completely honest. And against someone like, let's say, Nassourdine Imavov. Imavov uses his grappling here and there, but if he, gets caught up in a point fighting match, because Nassourdine does like to play that sort of karate, sort of sniping game, he will get beat by MVP. Quite frankly, he will. Because there's a very select few middleweights that play that sort of game, where I'm actually pretty confident that MVP can win. Now, against a Duplessis, he presents some interesting skills. Obviously, he can counter the blitz with his own. He's very good at timing entries, right? So he can counter that blitz with either like a flying knee or a straight right hand or a spinning elbow. The thing is, DDP is just an absolute fucking brick wall. And I don't really, think MVP has the most insane power, at this level. Definitely enough to probably get a KO over Cannonier or, some of the lesser chinned middleweights. But against Duplessis is going to walk forward and he's going to gorilla strength through MVP if they ever do fight, right? He has that grappling, that stickiness that you kind of need to beat MVP. Same with like an RDR, same with like a Chimaev, right? Those people that will just concede to grappling will beat MVP. But again, there's very minute scenarios where MVP can have success in a title fight, but I actually think he's pretty likely to get a shot at the title. Right? I've seen how Strickland talks about, people, how much he respects other fighters, how he talks about their skill sets. Like he's talked about Whitaker pretty poorly and saying like all he has is a blitz. Mate, have you seen MVP? He's going to talk mad smack about MVP, and he's going to think that, he can just beat up on him. And in reality, Strickland's game works right into MVP's, right? He's twitching, he's always making reactions, he's always reacting to things, he's dropping his hands to parry, right? He's not going to come forward with anything too hard or threatening, but he's just going to try and keep the pressure on you while not actually doing that much. That's perfect for MVP. Now, against Cannonier, because all of this has to happen if he beats Cannonier. Cannonier, obviously, big power puncher, right? Really, can, put people's lights out for the most part. Is pretty old, is, on the chinnier side. He gets hurt and rocked and dropped in a lot of his fights. But he also has really good leg kicks, which we've seen MVP susceptible to. Now, MVP will blitz off of the leg kicks we've seen, and I think he's going to be pretty measured in terms of distance control. Cannonier, while he does get rocked and dropped in pretty much every fight, the guys that he's getting rocked by, i.e. Gregory Rodriguez is just a brute. Zero technical striking ability at all, and wilts under pressure, and himself has not a very good chin. Whitaker hasn't really finished anyone other than Ikram Aliskerov for a very long time, right? It's, Cannonier is a difficult person to finish, an easy person to rock. But MVP, I feel like if he gets someone, on wobbly legs, he's really good at capitalizing. And the fact that Cannonier, keeps that high guard, sort of plods forward, and tries to be too technical for his own good. You'll see him switch stances, you'll see him try to be measured and try to, play that, not necessarily point-finding game, but you'll see he'll try to think in there. And at times, against someone like Marvin Vettori, it works, but then you get cracked. He got cracked by Vettori. He kept on trying to go southpaw. Vettori kept countering him and rocking him, and then eventually he switched back and started teeing off on Vettori. But he will try to be too technical for his own good. You saw in the Israel Adesanya fight as well. He tried to have a technical striking battle with Adesanya. And, it's a case of having, your fight IQ shoot itself in the foot. And we've seen Cannonier susceptible to being snake charmed. He will sort of get caught up in, the feints, the reactions, the in and out sort of movement of the MVP. And I feel like he's going to be too focused on that upper half to start chopping the legs effectively. And I think eventually, MVP is going to just land one that glances in just the right spot, because it is very, very possible to do against Cannonier to land, a shot that catches him good. And he's going to get Cannonier on wobbly legs. And I feel like once MVP senses that highlight coming, because he hasn't had it in the UFC. He hasn't, had that flashy knockout that he's constantly had in Bellator. I think once he gets Cannonier on wobbly legs, he's going to be like, okay, this is my moment. Big pay-per-view, middleweight title fight. It's like, this is his chance to really set himself in the top of a division that he wasn't really able to do at welterweight. He had that chance against Ian Gary and he came up ever so short. But I think at middleweight, right, he's going to be so much faster than these guys that, he's going to catch Cannonier off guard. And he could finish him. I'm leaning towards it. I wouldn't put money on him finishing him. He could very well go to a decision. But I do think MVP is going to beat Cannonier, and he's going to cement himself in a very good spot in the middleweight rankings. And he should immediately call for a Sean Strickland matchup. Immediately. Right? There is not a lot of things that Strickland does that I think give MVP problems. That tape's not going to work because MVP is too bladed, right? His punches aren't going to work. He's going to be out of range. He's not going to throw enough of them. He can't come up with a knee or an elbow to catch him hard. He's not going to leg kick. Christ, I've never seen Strickland throw a leg kick in his entire life. I think, there's a very clear path to a title shot. And honestly, with the UFC, with Strickland getting suspended, getting in brawls, turning down some matchups and just delivering underwhelming performances, I think they're going to give him a guy like MVP if MVP calls for it. And I really think he should. And there's going to be a world where we could honestly see MVP versus DDP or MVP versus Chimaev. Dear God, though, who fights Chimaev? He's going to die. I'm going to be completely lost. Chimaev mauls him. I think DDP does as well, but there's going to be a moment where, MVP lands a good shot on Duplessis and you're like, ooh. And then DDP just, trips and falls his way to a takedown and it ends up submitting him. But seeing an MVP in a title fight would be a very, very awesome thing. So I can't wait for his next fight. Honestly, I've loved having MVP in the UFC. I wish he came so much sooner, but that's beside the point. I just wanted to take this video to highlight, the position that MVP is in career-wise and what direction he could head if he wins this matchup, and I'm really, really excited. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the discussion. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. More than happy to have a chat with you guys, and I'll see you later.